I wasn't supposed to be at the reading of the will. That's what my stepmother told me over the phone, her voice sweet in that way that always meant violence was coming. It's really just for immediate family, she said. Like I hadn't lived in that house since I was 9. Like I hadn't been the one cleaning Dad's blood off the bathroom tiles after his seizures. Like I hadn't been the one who learned how to inject insulin because she was bad with needles. I showed up anyway, wearing a borrowed blazer and a calm I had practiced in the mirror for weeks. The conference room smelled like burnt coffee and cheap carpet cleaner. My stepbrother Ethan smirked when he saw me, already confident in the math he'd done in his head. He was golden MBA, married, suburban, correct? I was the problem child, the one who dropped out, worked 3 jobs, and caused stress when the lawyer started reading. I watched my stepmother's hands. Perfect manicure, no tremble. She thought this was a formality. She thought Dad's money was already hers because she'd been married to him the longest and loudest. Then the lawyer cleared his throat and said my name first. Just my name. No title, no relation. The room shifted. He read aloud Dad's words. The ones he wrote the week before he died, when he couldn't stand without. Shaking, but his mind was sharper than I'd ever seen it. He wrote that I was the only one who showed up without asking what was left in it for me. That I never once asked about the house, the accounts, the life insurance. That I just asked what hurt. Ethan laughed, actually laughed, until the lawyer explained that Dad had transferred controlling interest of the family business. Not money, not cash, but control to me through a living trust triggered upon death. My stepmother stood up so fast her chair fell backward. She said I manipulated him, that I isolated him, that I turned him against his real family. I didn't interrupt. I didn't cry. I didn't defend myself. I let her talk because people, like her, always hang themselves with their own words if you give them enough rope. And when the lawyer finally stopped her, he slid a folder across the table and said, "We anticipated this reaction." Inside were emails, texts, times every unanswered message Dad sent her, every doctor's appointment she skipped, every time Ethan said, "I'll come next week," and didn't. It wasn't revenge. It was documentation. Dad had been documenting his loneliness like it was evidence. Because to him that's when I understood something that changed my life permanently. The story they told about me only worked when I stayed quiet. My stepmother's voice cracked when the lawyer read Dad's final instruction that if anyone contested the trust, they'd receive nothing. Not a dollar. Not a photo. Nothing. Ethan's face drained of color, the confidence evaporating as the realization hit him that his inheritance depended entirely on my silence. He tried to make eye contact with me like we were suddenly allies. Like we hadn't spent years pretending I didn't exist unless Dad needed care. I remembered the night Dad fell in the driveway and Ethan said, calling an ambulance was too dramatic. I remembered my stepmother telling me hospice was too depressing and asking me to handle it myself. I remembered all the quiet labor that never made it into family stories. When the lawyer asked if anyone intended to challenge the will, the room went dead silent. I felt my heart pounding, not from fear, but from something like release. For the first time, I wasn't reacting. I was being watched. My stepmother sat back down slowly, her hands shaking now, finally human. Afterward, in the parking lot, Ethan followed me to my car. He said we should talk. He said family matters more than money. I smiled because I'd waited my whole life to hear him say something that empty. I told him Dad already talked. That's what the paperwork was. That's what the trust was. A conversation they refused to have while he was alive. 3 months later, I sold the business not because I wanted the money, but because I didn't want the legacy of begging for approval ever again. I paid off my debts. I went back to school. I kept one thing, Dad's old voicemail, the one where he says, "You showed up. I didn't block my stepmother or Ethan." I just stopped responding. And here's the part no one warns you about. Winning doesn't feel loud. There's no applause. There's just quiet. Peaceful, expensive quiet. The kind that only comes when you finally stop. Carrying someone else's guilt like it's your birthright. I didn't take anything from them. I just stopped giving. And somehow that changed everything.